Hello, everybody. I'm Father Kurt Hein. I'm the rector. I'm the pastor at Light of Christ Anglican Church in Georgetown, Texas. During our youth Pizza with the Pastor nights, we're going to start discussing Timothy Keller's book, Making Sense of God. Making Sense of God. I recommend, and I'll include in the notes here underneath, a link so that you can purchase that book. And my plan is to just spend a few moments going through the chapter so that we can all be on the same page and have a great discussion with our limited time together on Wednesday nights. So Timothy Keller, in this book, Making Sense of God, starts with asking the question, why does anybody need religion? Why does anyone need religion? So the first chapter is entitled, Isn't Religion Going Away? This was a very popular in the 60s. Not so popular anymore because it's just not true. This sense and this belief that religion was just dying out, and that within a few generations, one or two at the most, we were going to begin to see just people not needing religion anymore, and religious fervor dying out, religious faith around the world dying out, and giving over to secularism. But we're finding actually that this isn't the case. I'm looking right now at some research from the Pew Forum. You can find this on their website. I will, as I said, have the link below as well. And this is a study that was done by the Pew Research Center in 2011, so it's a bit dated. But at that time, they are tracking the growth of Christianity, and as a percentage of the population, it's basically remained the same since 1910. But there's been a huge shift in where the Christians are located. And Christianity, and those that affiliate with Christianity in the West, that number is decreasing, but at the same time, the amount of people that are following Jesus and are identifying as Christian in other parts of the world is increasing rapidly. Look at this. The share of the population that is Christian in sub-Saharan Africa climbed from 9% in 1910 to 63% in 2010. That is insane. Also, in China, estimated Christian population in China, 2010, 67 million. Excuse me, 67 million people. And we know that that number is continuing to grow. Now, does this mean that Christianity is right? No. That would be called the bandwagon fallacy. The bandwagon fallacy is quote, an appeal to popularity, or the fact that many people do something as an attempted form of validation. And that's not what we're doing here. I'm not saying, hey, be a Christian because everybody's doing it. That's poor logic. That's not logical at all, actually. Through time, people have believed all sorts of things. Most people have believed all kinds of crazy stuff that has ended up not being true. But what I am saying is that whether you believe in Christianity or not, the fact that Christianity is still here and is growing in other parts of the world, in fact, there's no geographic center to Christianity any longer, means that at least we must pay attention to it. At the very least, we need to be asking, why is Christianity growing? What are people finding in Christianity that's so compelling to them? And so we can't just say, Christianity's dying out. It's not worth my time. So why is it that all these people are finding Christ and identifying as Christians? What's happening there? Well, I think for one reason is that secularism, even though lots of horrible things have been done in the name of Christianity and by Christians through time, the last generation, let's just say the last century, has shown us that secularism is no improvement as far as human behavior. And there's a lot of examples, but I'm just going to bring up two. One is my personal experience going to the killing fields in Cambodia. So that was a communist regime. committed to materialism, committed to being anti-Christian, and committed to science. But what we saw in Cambodia was genocide. 1/3 of the population was killed by Pol Pot. And as I went to the killing fields and I saw the mass graves and the, you'd have a mass grave here that would say like 500 bodies without heads. And then over here you would have a mass grave that would be like 1,000 heads without bodies. I mean, and then they had this tower there that had just layer and layer and layer. It was glass on all sides, layer and layer and layer of skulls that they had dug up from the killing fields going, I don't know, it seemed like 100 feet up in the air. And that leaves an impression on a person. And that was just one of the communist states. We're not even getting into Russia and what Stalin did. So secularism, materialism is not necessarily better or create a better and more flourishing environment for people. Another example would be scientific racism. We see that in eugenics. This idea that we can use science and breed a better person. And of course, the racism in that is appalling. And people call that a pseudoscience, but in the day, it was considered science. Right? Science alone is science is a great tool as far as it goes in helping us understand the world around us, the material world around us, but it doesn't touch upon many of the realities that we experience and we know are true. And one of those realities, two of those realities, is the reality of meaning and the reality of morals, just to name two. It reminds me of one of a particular discussion I had with an atheist, and I asked him. He denied that there was any ultimate good, any ultimate truth, any ultimate beauty. And I asked him, well, sir, do you believe in progress? I mean, you're out here trying to convert people to atheism. Do you believe that in progress, that it's possible for people to progress, for humanity to progress, for societies to progress? And he said, yeah, I do. That's what I'm fighting for. And I said, well, what are you progressing toward? If everything is just material, horizontal, what transcendent goal are you progressing toward? And of course, science cannot tell us that. Right? We have to use something else to know that reality. And so we all sense these things and we all experience things that are outside the scope of science, as good as science is. And some of these things would be love, truth. Truth is just presupposed by science, but science can't prove that truth exists. Goodness, and under this, of course, we could talk about morality. And then beauty. Most people, and I think all people really, have this sense, this must be more sense. In the book, Making Sense of God, Keller quotes Charles Taylor, and he calls this, quote, fullness, unquote, this experience as fullness. This sense of longing. And I love what C.S. Lewis says about this sense of longing, this sense that there must be more to life than just living and dying, more than just the world, the material world that we can see. And he says, quote, if I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. That's C.S. Lewis from Mere Christianity. There's something in us. Humans are strange in this way. We're not like dogs. We're not like Fido. We ask why. Why am I here? What am I supposed to be about? What's the meaning of me in this world? Charles Taylor calls this fullness, of course, which is the perception that life is greater than can be accounted by naturalistic explanations. I think another reason why religion continues to be popular, especially Christianity, is that people have religious experiences. In the West, we don't like to talk about our spiritual experiences because many people will laugh at us and will feel a sense of shame. So what I found is that you have to really get close to people, and they have to trust that you're a safe person for them to begin to share these experiences with you. But when I was a hospice chaplain, so a hospice chaplain is a pastor that walks with people and their families as they approach death. So it's a very profound vocation, and it was but one thing I found was in that, as I developed trust with people, how many people have had just really off the wall, strange, wonderful, amazing spiritual experiences that they know is true for them. They know it. In the core of who they are, they know it. Whether they've seen Jesus, or they felt the presence of a loved one, or a common one is this feeling of this transcendent presence that fills them with this sense of awe, like almost fear and love at the same time. It's amazing. More people than not have had these sort of experiences. And if you have an experience like that, you want to explain it. And secularism just does not have a way to talk about these things or explain these experiences. Which brings me to a quote here from Timothy Keller about secularism and its limitations. He says, this is on page 23, strict secularism holds that people are only physical entities without souls, that when loved ones die, they simply cease to exist, that sensations of love and beauty are just neurological chemical events, that there is no right or wrong outside of what we in our minds determine and choose. Those positions are at the very least deeply counterintuitive for nearly all people, and large swaths of humanity will continue to simply reject them as impossible to believe. That's true. So why continue with this discussion? If you're a person with doubts, I invite you to continue this discussion with us. I think questions are good for anybody. They help deepen our faith, and they help us discover what's true. But why continue with this discussion about religion and Christianity? Well, one, Christianity is going to continue to be relevant into the future. They're into the foreseeable future. There are going to continue to be billions of people on this planet that believe in Jesus. If they believe in Jesus and we want to know them so that we can coexist with them at the very least, we need to know something about what they believe. And then also, personally, do you ask why? Why am I here? Do you have that sense of fullness? Have you had a religious or spiritual experience that you can't explain? Is there this deep longing inside of you that seems like nothing in this world can fill? And so I'll end with a quote from St. Augustine, who says, "Our hearts are restless until they find their rest in you." A beautiful prayer by St. Augustine. And so as we get together during our next Pizza with the Pastor on Wednesday, here are a few questions for you to ponder. Have you ever had an experience of fullness? 2, is morality important to you? And if so, have you thought about where you get your sense of morality from? What makes one morality better than another? What makes morality important? And then 3, why do you think that so many people have turned to Jesus? maybe you can think about your own experience. What kind of questions did Christianity answer for you that made it compelling? Thank you for watching. I look forward to talking to you more soon.